This is Framingham Fan to Fan on Access Framingham TV. Hi, I'm Dave Hornfischer, and tonight I'm excited to be on site at the Broomstones curling facility in Wayland, Massachusetts, where we're going to be doing a unique on-location show. And we're going to be talking with Michael O'Neill, a Framingham resident and a curler here. Michael's going to be telling us all about the Broomstone facility and what curling is about. And this is really timely with the Olympics coming up fairly soon. This is going to be fun. Sitting here now with a curling stone weighing all of 40 pounds. And look at the nice little twisting handle here that they twisted, and this is not for the faint of heart. This is one of the shoes or pads that they put under their shoes that actually turns their shoe into an ice skate. This is very slippery, and you'll see them on the ice, moving down the ice very quickly, and this is what does it. While we watch a little curling action with our guest Michael O'Neill, he's the guy in the black and red jacket, let me tell you a little bit about the Broomstones facility and the background of curling in Massachusetts. Broomstones Curling Club on Rice Road in Wayland was founded in 1968. It's the largest curling club in Massachusetts. Boston area curling matches dated as early as 1835, starting on the pond in the Boston Public Garden. The first recorded visit of Scottish curlers, where some people think curling began, was in Boston in January 1938, when 8 matches were played at the Country Club in Brookline. Curling has been played on other country clubs in that period, first at Braeburn, later on at Wellesley and Weston. However, when Wellesley and Weston clubs denied petitions for curling facilities, the leaders decided to affiliate in the construction and operation of a new curling rink in Wayland. That facility was chartered as Broomstones in 1968. That's where we are today, where over 300 curlers perform, sometimes as many as 4 times a week. I'm here with Mike O'Neill at Broomstones in Wayland, and Mike, you guys had a great match. It was fun watching it. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a 1-point game there at the end, and my opponent couldn't make his last shot there to force me to throw my last rock, so thankfully, we just shook hands and came inside. But fun was had by all.
Let's start by talking just a little bit about the sport of curling. I understand 2 million people in Canada do this.
I don't know the exact numbers, but I wouldn't be surprised if the number was that high. It's a very popular sport north of the border.
And is it growing in the U.S.?
It's actually, I think, one of the fastest growing sports in the United States. It seems like there's clubs popping up every year in the GNCC. Which is basically the eastern region of the United States. Is called the Grand National Curling Club, and we're one of the members of the Grand National. I believe we started 2 or 3 new clubs last year.
And Broomstones itself has a long, rich tradition.
Yeah, we're just celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. We were founded in 1968. We just had our gala, I guess they called it, back in October. But yeah, I mean, we've had some players at the Olympic trials this year that were former members of our junior program. We've actually got a guy right now that's playing in the mixed doubles curling trials. Corey Dropkin grew up in this club. His parents still are members here.
Great, and you're from Framingham. Are there other people here from Framingham?
I know there's at least 1 or 2 other adult curlers here from Framingham. I'm not sure about how many junior curlers there could be here.
So how did you get into curling?
Co-worker, actually. I used to work with a woman about 2004, 2005, who had been pushing me to come down and try curling. Her and her husband are both members here, and I finally was, convinced when she told me it combined 2 of my favorite things in life. And when I asked her what that was, she said, ice and drinking. So I came down, I tried it out, and after about one or 2 nights, I was completely hooked, and it's been playing ever since.
And so the league you're in is a fairly competitive league?
I'm in 3 leagues this half. I play Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights. Our Tuesday night is our President's League. It's our most competitive league. You accumulate points over the course of a year, and that's how you get seeded for the following years. My Wednesday night is a social league. It's an open league, so you can have men and women on the team. And my Thursday night is a social, but it's a men's only night. So one gender team.
And so, about how many players are there in the Broomstones?
I don't know the exact numbers. My guess is somewhere around 300 adult members, probably somewhere between 50 to 60 junior members.
So, is this an expensive sport?
Well, I mean, when you're initially equipping yourself, I guess some of the things can be a little expensive. A broom, 100, $150 maybe. A good pair of shoes, a couple $100. But you don't have to buy the rocks. I mean, we've got the rocks here at the ice. So, basically it's shoes and a broom, and then your dues for the year, they aren't that expensive.
Okay.
So you pay a fat price, and you can join as many leagues as you can get into. And we have, pickup curling on the weekends, and multiple opportunities to sub for people when they're not in town. So you can get as much out of your membership as you want.
I understand they even have youth leagues here.
Oh yeah. I believe on Sundays they have at least 2 or 3 shifts of different age groups of juniors. And I believe they also do maybe like a Wednesday afternoon sort of development, like 4 to 5 or 4 to 6 o'clock, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. So there is opportunities for the juniors and to get their skills developed and get on the ice a lot.
Okay, well, soon we're going to we're going to give you a chance to describe what's happening in a curling match. But maybe before we do that, why don't we just start with a little bit of the basics of the game? There's how many players on a team?
It's 4-on-4 in regular curling. You've also got a variation called mixed doubles, which is a 2-on-2 version of the sport. But in standard curling, it's 4-on-4. All players throw 2 stones each, so a total of 8 stones per team. And you alternate team to team who's throwing.
And then I understand there's different roles on the team.
Yeah, so you've got a lead, a second, a vice skip, and a skip. And the skip is the guy who stands at the other end of the ice and he calls the game. So generally they're going to be the player that has some experience, has a good understanding of strategy, can call line, which means when the rock's coming down at you, it's starting to curl. You sweep it to keep it going straighter and keep it going a little farther. Because if you don't sweep it, it'll curl and it'll slow down. So you got to understand the speed of the rock, the curl of the rock, and where you want it to end up so you can prevent your opponent from having an easy shot.
So let's talk about the sweeping. I'm always impressed I see these people out there with 2 brooms going like crazy. What are they trying to do?
So, as I was just saying, the idea behind sweeping is to continue the rock on its path and not allow it to slow down.
And this is by sweeping debris off the ice, or does it have something to do with the heat?
It actually is reducing the coefficient of friction between the running band on the bottom of the stone and the ice. So, when you prepare the ice, they actually take what's called a pebble can, and it's almost like a flower gardener would have, like to water their flowers, right. Except it's upside down, and it actually throws water up into the air as you walk backwards, and it drops these little pebbles of water on the ice, and they freeze. So when that freezes, now the rock is actually running on top of these pebbles. So it's not a flat surface like on an ice rink, because if you had a flat surface, that rock would be very hard to get moving, because it would be too much friction and it would slow down a lot. So it rides up on these pebbles, and the idea behind the sweeping is you're actually sort of melting that top layer and creating a little layer of water almost with the friction, and it allows that rock to travel a little farther.
So that's the exercise in the game, because you're not just making a light touch with that broom, you're pushing.
The guys that are at the top level, they will almost have 85 to 90% of their body weight on the top of the broom. They're almost perpendicular to the ice, or parallel to the ice when they're sweeping. It's a sight to see that some of the best players that are out there and what they can do with a rock.
And that's what practice helps you with.
Absolutely, and good communication and having a skip who can tell the guys which side of the rock to sweep on, because over the last few years they've actually determined that based on who's sweeping and on what side of the rock you sweep on, you can actually affect the rock a little bit more. You can actually increase the curl a little bit, or you can decrease the curl depending on which side of the rock you're sweeping on. It's called directional sweeping, and it's a pretty new thing that the game has sort of developed over the past 4 years, I guess. And it's really impressive, like I said, to watch some of the best sweepers go at it and what they can really do with a rock.
Well, let's get back to the shooter for a second. We've got the handle on the rock here, and let's talk a little bit about what you're thinking about when you're shooting.
Well, the first thing when you're going to shoot is you obviously need to make sure that your rock is clean. So you'll notice if you look when you prepare to shoot, a lot of the players will pick the rock up and they'll take their hand and clean any of the debris off the bottom of the rock and then move it out of the way. So that way there's no chance of it picking up on something, and because that can really cause the rock to take off on you. After that, you basically want to just get relaxed, set your foot correctly in the hack, which is the place behind the house here that we push off from. So you want to make sure that you're lined up towards your target. You know, either the skip or the vice skip, if they're holding the broom, will be at the other end, putting your target down. So you line up, and then if you're throwing a draw, you don't have to push so hard. If you're throwing a hit, you're obviously pushing harder. And then when you release it, you want to just release it at the broom and just put the turn on it one way or the other, either the in turn or the out turn, and then see what happens. And then at that point, it's all communication between the players. You know, the sweepers are telling the skip what kind of weight that has been thrown, and the skip is going to communicate back to the sweepers whether or not to sweep.
So you can really throw a curveball.
It's not quite a curveball, but yeah, the rocks will naturally curl, and the slower the rock is going, the more it's going to tend to curl. So if you're throwing a hit, you're not going to get as much curl on the rock.
Okay, well maybe we can go out and take a peek at the ice here. I see we've got a match going on in front of us. Mike, we got a guy who's looking very Scottish with a kilt out here, but you told me he's probably not from Scotland.
No, I don't think Alan's from Scotland, but he does really enjoy that kilt. So what we've got going on here right now is the red team is actually in really good shape right now. They're sitting 5 rocks in the house. They have the last rock in this end, which is also known as the hammer. And the yellow team has now got to figure out what they're going to do here. Their third thrower, also known as the vice, has their second shot coming right now, and it looks like they're throwing some kind of a hit maybe, or trying to draw him behind. I can't really tell. I didn't see.
They have one yellow rock out in front, and
Yep.
and five that are sitting inside, which you call in the house.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, it's not so much to get them. It doesn't matter where they are, but they have to be all inside, right?
You have to be touching paint in order to count as a point, and it's as many stones as you have inside your opponent's first stone.
Okay.
So what you saw right there is yellow took out one of the red stones, and they rolled a little bit, so now they're actually behind their guard, and from here it actually looks like they're sitting as the count stone.
And the count stone is the one that's closest to that little dot in the orange dot in the middle.
Exactly. So closest to the center is really what you're trying to do in this game, and right now it looks like the yellow one that's sitting in that 8-foot ring is the closest. So the red team here is looking to throw a double. It looks like they're going to try to run the front yellow into the back yellow and take them both out. So he's throwing a hit weight. It looks like it's a little bit outside. It's close.
Wow.
All right, so that shot was about half made. They did make contact with the top rock. Unfortunately, the rock that they hit jammed in the back, so it's still counting one yellow in the back there. Unless that red one on the side is counting. I mean, it's really hard to tell from in here. Unless you're right on top of the rocks, it's you can look up at the TVs, but unless you're out there, you really don't know. It looks from here like it could be that one red on the outside there, on the side of the 8-foot that might be count. But yellow's not even going to look at that one. They're just going to take out that one on the top of the house and try to roll behind the guard and sit one. Well, they don't have hammer here. They're just trying to make sure that the red team doesn't score a big end.
We must be getting close to this. You call it an inning and an end, I understand.
Yeah, we play 8 ends at the social level, in the trials and stuff like that, and in the Olympics they'll play 10 end games.
Is the scoring the same in the Olympics?
Oh, the scoring in curling is the same regardless. It's just the number of ends that they play, and the level of play is much higher, obviously. So we got this hit coming down here. The sweepers are on it. It looks like it's a pretty good shot here. And boom, gets the double. So I think it's still red sitting 1, but that's the only red that's still left in the house. After 2 shots for each team, all of a sudden, red only has 1 stone left in the house instead of the 5 they used to be sitting. So I would say yellow's in a lot better shape than they were a few stones ago.
Each end changes drastically as the shots come on. And
yeah, a nice double or a miss really does change the course of any end. And, frankly, if you misplace a guard or, something picks or over curls a little bit, it can really throw off the entire end. It is really a matter of centimeters in this game. Nobody, no matter how long you've been playing this game, things happen. It's.
So we're currently in the second end of this match.
Yep.
And their lead, the team in yellow is ahead, I think, right? Am I reading the scoreboard right?
Yeah,
1-0?
They scored the 1 point in the first end, so that's actually, it looks like they actually stole 1 in the first end because the little hammer sign on the scoreboard there is on the red side, so it looked like red started with the hammer. So yellow took a steal of 1 in the first end, and they're trying to steal again in this end, it looks like.
So when you have the hammer, it's like having the serve in tennis. It's the last one, and you get a chance those are the ones that you should win on that end.
Yeah, you're expected to get at least your 1 point when you have hammer, but ideally you want to score 2 or more. A lot of teams, if they don't think they can get the 2, will try to do what's called blanking the end. If there are no stones in the house at all at the end of the end, when all 8 rocks have been played for both teams, there's no score and the team retains hammer for the next end. You see that a lot more at the upper levels and not so much at the social levels. You'll see a lot more rocks in play at clubs like ours.
I noticed in the match you were in that the defensive team, the one that wasn't shooting, would often try to speed up the opponent's rock once it went past the center line to make it go through.
Yeah, so
I saw you doing that a lot.
Yeah, so you're not allowed to sweep your opponent's stone until it crosses the T line, it's called, which is the line that crosses the center of the house. So basically, I'm only allowed to sweep that last 6 to 6.5 feet. And frankly, if it's really close and you want to get it as far back as you can because you want to make that scoring zone as big as it can for yourself.
And getting blockers out in front is probably highly strategic.
Yeah, you definitely want guards in play if you're trying to score more than 1 point. And then other times in the game, you might not want guards. Like, for example, in the game I was playing earlier, we got ahead by 3 or 4 points. Having guards out in front of the house is not necessarily a good thing for me because that gives my opponent a chance to hide behind. So I wanted to bring things into the house and force them to do something with them rather than leave guards up front and give them a place to hide.
No, these guys aren't sweeping at all here. They're just they're happy with the speed of the rock.
Looks like it's a little bit heavy actually, and it's a little wide. And yep, so he caught it on the high side a little bit, and it was sort of frozen on that back yellow. So at this point, it looks like red's actually sitting 2 rocks, and we'll have a chance to draw for a 3rd point. And this looks like it's the hammer shot. So yeah, this is a shot for 3 here. Not exactly sure why he's drawn in this direction. I think I'd come the other way.
One of the players here is telling him where to aim it for.
So the player that's in the house right now has got his broom down, and that's your target. So they've discussed, the skip has now gone to the other end to throw the last rock, and this is his vice down here that's holding the broom for him. So they've discussed where to put that broom. He feels confident that if he throws the right weight at that broom, that it's going to bring his rock in and score that 3rd point for him. I have a feeling that when he lets this go, it's probably going to hit that top red guard, just based on where they've put the broom and my knowledge of the ice here. I have a feeling it'll curl and probably hit that top red guard. So looks like it's possibly a little light because the sweepers are sweeping it right out of his hand. They like it a lot better now, and it is coming right at that top guard. And they did not hit it square enough, so they're going to hit it at an angle and not get it into the house. They're only going to get their 2 that they were already sitting, but 2's better than 1, so we'll take it.
Okay, well, that was terrific. I think we pretty well covered the strategy of one of these things. I think when we watch the Olympics on television, we're going to be a lot better informed as to what to look for. Let's just talk a little bit about the Olympics. I imagine that's a big event here at Broomstones.
So we do an open house once or twice a year to get more members, and the year that we have the Olympics is always our most heavily attended open house. I think I want to say 8 years ago we had about 900 people come through the door for our open house. I believe 4 years ago we had about 600 come through the door.
This is all during the 2 weeks of the Olympics, or when the curling matches are on.
What they usually do is they'll do a one-day open house either right before or right after the Olympics when everybody's really into watching it. They're talking about it. I'm thankful that the NBC and the Olympics have been doing such great coverage for curling. There's been so much more curling on television in the past 4 to 8 years, and it's been great.
And this is open to the public.
The open house is absolutely open to the public. I believe that they just have a sign-up sheet. You email in interest, and then they give you a time slot. You come down. They give you a quick tutorial, get you on the ice. You throw a few stones, see if you like it, and some people will put their name right on the waiting list and say, "I want to be a member." And as soon as the spot opens up, let me know.
Does the U.S. have a chance of getting a medal?
I believe they actually have a chance of medaling. The U.S. men's team, I believe, finished fourth at Worlds last year. The women's team, I believe, silvered in the women's Worlds last year. I can't remember. I think they silvered.
It's not co-ed at the Olympics.
No, the mixed doubles is the only co-ed. So the one man, one woman, 2-on-2. It's a modified curling format, and that's what they're doing actually the trials for.
So that's like beach volleyball then, with the 2-on-2.
It's similar to that. Yeah, it's a modified format. They have 2 rocks that start in play already. They're set at the beginning of the end, and then you play 5 rocks instead of 8.
Wow.
So. 2-player teams, you'll see a lot more of a draw game there because you don't have as many sweepers. So you'll see a lot of taps, a lot of draws, a lot of finesse shots. And you can see some big ends in those games. You definitely you can get into a lot of trouble if you miss a shot there.
So other than the U.S. and Canada, who are some of the other major international players in this? Is mostly the Scandinavian countries? Or?
Yeah, there's a lot of good European teams out there. The Scots are always good. Norway and their famous pants. They're always a good team. Denmark's got a good team.
There's no Jamaican bobsledder type in this.
No, they only allow, I think, 12 teams to go to the Olympics. So I believe that the first 8 or 10 teams are based on points that they've scored over the prior 3 or 4 years. As you play in Worlds and stuff, your country accumulates points, and then the top, I believe, 8 or 10 teams get bids to the Olympics along with the host. And then I believe the final 2 teams, they have a tournament that I believe just finished up. And I think that it was, I want to say the Czechs and I can't remember. I think the Czechs and somebody else got in. But either way, there's going to be 12 teams in a round-robin format. The top 4 will go to the playoffs, the semis, and the finals, and for the medals.
Well, this has been great, Michael. I know I've learned a lot more about this, and I hope our viewers on Access Framingham will watch the Olympics and maybe even come on over here to Broomstones. You're right on Rice Road in Wayland. A very easy place to get to. You got parking. It's a very comfortable place to watch a match, and just to come over and watch. And I guess you have opportunities for people to learn. And
yep.
So there's no reason why America can't have millions of people doing curling. So thank you very much.
No problem. It was nice meeting with you.
Let's meet a couple of other curlers. Okay, I'm pleased to welcome 2 other curlers who were in the match that we were just watching.
Francesca Simon from Wayland, Massachusetts.
And Marcia Nunes from Norwood, Mass.
So have you been curling here a long time?
I myself have been curling. This is my 3rd year.
I think this is my 8th year.
Wow, so you guys are getting to be experts here.
Getting there. It takes a little bit of time, but it's fun, and it's great to play a sport and learn. So.
Yeah, we were just talking about who we need practice time. So.
Yeah.
But you're not from Canada then?
No, New England. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, but it's a work in process. So,
No,
yeah.
no kidding.
And you didn't grow up in Canada either?
Not either.
Okay. So in the match that you just had, you were on the team that lost by a couple of points, and it looked like it kind of went right down to the wire.
It did. We were able to score a couple of points on each end where we were kind of almost tied, but then at the end we seemed to have it fell through.
And that last point at the end, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a good shot at the end there. Yeah. So I gather most of the matches are probably pretty close.
Sometimes. They don't necessarily pair teams by skill level, so sometimes you could play against a very skilled team, or sometimes maybe a newbie team. So it's very different each time, I'd say. Yeah.
It depends.
Yeah. So you have a lot of players in the league. In the leagues, I should say.
Yeah, I think we have about 300 people in the club total, around that number. So the leagues are pretty full. Yeah.
There's two draws every night, so there's 8 teams out there now. 8 teams in the draw we were in, plus a few teams that are off this week. So.
Yeah.
And so do you play just once a week?
It depends. I play sometimes up to 3 times a week, but sometimes once a week. So it's all in the scheduling.
Yeah, I'm playing twice a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is an exercise program for you then, or is it just a social thing?
A little bit of both. I think, if I can do a lot of sweeping, it's a lot of exercise, but it's a lot of social stuff too, so it's fun.
Yeah, it's social, it's exercise, it gets you out of the house.
Yeah.
So I understand the winning team is supposed to be buying you guys drinks.
Yes.
They are.
Yeah, they are. Right behind us at the bar.
So this is the real purpose of the event. This is the post-mortem of the match, right?
There's an official term for what we're doing. It's called broom stacking.
I've heard that at Broomstones.
And I think that, I don't know, it may relate to putting all the equipment away and getting the ice ready for whatever else is going to happen on the ice. But so I think it's a benign term for, that this is a people who drink with a curling problem.
Stacking up the brooms, right?
Right,
Where are the
stacking
brooms
up the
stacked in here?
cocktails.
Stacking up the cocktails, yeah. Well, you've got a wonderful bar in here, and
Yep.
this looks like a very comfortable place. The fireplace and
Very
it looks
cozy.
like a kind of a nice place that I'd enjoy coming, even if I didn't curl.
I think that's probably right.
Yeah.
I've come here not curling.
See, and there you go. It's,
They just keep coming.
Look what I found.
True admissions, yeah. Look at this, yeah. Oh, yeah. What's the deal? The winners buy the drinks for the losers.
The winners buy the first round for the losers, and the losers buy the second round, and then
You're on your own.
you're on your own. Actually, my teammate just bought me one, so it just
Oh, good.
becomes friendly after that.
Oh, I thought the winners had to buy all night. I thought nobody'd win then, right? Yeah.
Even in a private club, that gets expensive.
Well, thanks a lot. This has been a lot of fun.
That's a wrap on this edition of Framingham Fan to Fan with a feature on curling. Thanks for watching.